If you're a burned out nurse practitioner or medical provider, then you are in the right place. Today, I'm going to tell you 3 habits that you need to incorporate in your life and your work if you want to be happier practicing in healthcare. Hi, for those of you who are new here, my name is Nicole. I am a rheumatology nurse practitioner, and I help other nurse practitioners and medical providers find happiness in healthcare and meaningfully connect with their patients in 60 seconds or less. Now, the first habit you need to incorporate in your life and your work if you want to be happier in healthcare is this: read 10 pages of a book every single day. And it could be a clinical textbook, it could be a study, it could be a self help book. Every single day. That's 365 days in a year. That is 365 times to increase your knowledge. You know, one of the biggest fears of nurse practitioners is getting a malpractice lawsuit. It is so hard to stay updated in today's era of medicine with all the advancement. There's something changing all the time. There's new medications out on the market. And when your decision making actually affects people's lives, it's kind of a big deal, right? It feels really heavy to not always be updated on the latest information. You feel like an urgency to stay updated and have everything in your brain. And I know as nurse practitioners, we are legally required to stay updated through CEUs or continuing education units. And that's how we renew our certificates and our licenses. But that's like what, every 2 years? But I want you to make reading a habit like putting on your socks or brushing your teeth every single day. But this goes beyond having the latest clinical knowledge in our brain. Studies demonstrate that the average person has up to 60,000 thoughts a day. 60,000 thoughts a day. But that's not even the punchline. 75% of those thoughts are negative. Can you believe that? I mean, I thought about this when I read the statistic. When I wake up in the morning, my first thought is usually, oh, I do not want to get out of bed. Oh, it's another day. It's going to be a long day. My first thought in the morning tends to be negative. Isn't that wild? And you might be like me. You might start your day off with a negative thought. And it's so easy to fall in the trap of doubting yourself, of thinking today will be a terrible day, which, by the way, if you think today will be a terrible day, it will be a terrible day. So be your brain's best friend. Choose what you feed and nourish your brain on a daily basis. Be intentional about this. I was reading a book recently by Michael Easter called The Comfort Crisis. And it was a really enlightening book in self improvement. And there's a quote from that book that really stood out to me. Every time we reflexively take out our phones or turn on a computer or the TV to kill boredom, it attaches another tiny anchor to our stress tolerance and drags it lower. In fact, scientists at Oregon State University found that daily stressors like waiting in line at the grocery store or the checkout stand can actually improve our resistance to some brain diseases if we simply suffer through those weights and frustrations and shrug them off. More of these everyday micro stressors are actually better for our brain. So it's actually better for our brains if we're not immediately on our phones scrolling through social media or jumping on the couch and binge watching Netflix as soon as we get home because we want to escape from all the stress we've had at work. Like, you're training your brain to sit with that frustration a little bit longer and to be more resilient and resistant to diseases. And those small, micro, 1% habits are really important. They actually are how you build the life you want. Life is built through everyday things we do, not through the vacation we take once a year, twice a year. Like, every day we are building the lives we want. You know, we deal with so much stress in our work and our lives. And I feel like it's a myth that to have the perfect life, there is no stress. That's a myth. There's always going to be stress when you're dealing with other people, other personalities, bureaucracies in our line of work. There will always be stress. But what's the most important thing is learning how to regulate yourself in those times of stress, how to be calm in the eye of the storm, and know how to handle that frustration and know that it's not forever. It's a temporary circumstance. And so, the next question you might be thinking is, Nicole, I don't have time. I don't have time to read 10 pages a day. And I'm here to give you a little tough love. Find the time to read 10 pages every day. Eliminate in your life what doesn't serve you. Stop mindlessly scrolling on the phone, on social media. Stop binge watching television when you get home when those shows don't feed or nurture your brain. Read during your lunch, read during the train commute to work. If you drive, get an audiobook. I want you to think, how can I make this happen? Instead of thinking I don't have time, think instead, how could I make this happen? I'm going to give you a personal example. So for me personally, if this helps, I borrow books from the library. I also buy books sometimes if they're really good and I want to have them on hand and reread them. I also have a Kindle e-reader and I have a Kindle app on my phone. So even if I don't have my physical book with me, I have an opportunity to read something on my phone or my Kindle. And for me personally, since I'm a parent and I have a 4-year-old, I want to encourage him to read and for him to role model, and he sees, oh, mom's reading. So whenever I'm in front of my toddler, I actually have my physical book with me so that he sees me reading. And so, have different avenues to read, make it as easy for you, eliminate as much friction as possible to make it possible to read. And even sometimes I'm reading like 2-3 books at once, and it takes me weeks or months to get through a book. This is not a race, it's a marathon. But spend every day absorbing more knowledge about self-development, self-improvement, how to be a better parent, a better adult, or a better nurse practitioner. Now, the next habit you need to incorporate in your life and your work in order to be happier in healthcare is this: exercise. Move your body. Now, I know being that we work in healthcare, we all know the benefits of exercise, right? This is no secret. Exercising helps with your muscles, your bones, help prevent osteoarthritis, helps your cardiovascular system, helps reduce the risk of heart disease. The list goes on and on and on. Did you know that in the US, only 23% of Americans actually exercise and meet the recommended levels of physical activity by the World Health Organization? And 26% of adults are completely inactive during their leisure time. Did you know that? Now, if you already exercise the recommendations by the World Health Organization, which is 150 minutes of moderate intensive aerobic activity or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity per week, then woo, you are on a roll. You're part of that 1/4 of the US that is doing good. Now, if you admit that, yes, every year your New Year goals consist of exercising more, but usually fall off the bandwagon by February 1st, then this is for you. Studies demonstrate that cardiovascular exercise makes significant biochemical changes in the brain. All right, let me break this down for you. So exercise creates biochemical changes in the brain. One of them is the production of insulin-like growth factor, or IGF-1. All right, so exercise leads to the production of insulin growth factor 1. This protein, if you don't remember, this protein is made by the body and it stimulates the growth of many different cells. Also, and it induces angiogenesis. So we're creating more cells and we're creating angiogenesis. If you remember angiogenesis is the production of new blood vessels from existing blood vessels. And when you have angiogenesis and the formation of new blood vessels, we all know that leads to more perfusion, more blood, more oxygen, more nutrients to the neurons in our brain. So we have more perfusion to our brain cells. Now, this entire process helps facilitate neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity, if you don't remember, is the formation of neural networks and synaptic connections. So now we have more synaptic connections, more neural networks in our brain, the dendrites, the neurons, And all of these structural changes leads to a more efficient brain where we can learn more, we retain more information, we have better memory, and we can pay attention more. So if you look at this, exercise is your cheat sheet. Exercise is your cheat sheet. All these years we've been thinking that I need to carry notes in my pocket of my scrubs or in my white coat to carry with me so that I remember all this information, when in reality, exercise is your cheat sheet. Exercise will help you have a more efficient brain. And we just talked about the importance of reading every day, reading 10 pages every day, making that a staple, a routine, a habit. If you're not exercising, what is the point of reading 10 pages a day? Your brain won't be your ally and won't be efficient enough to retain all this information. It's like trying to water a plant, but keeping it indoors in a dark room with no sunlight. Like, what's the point? Photosynthesis cannot take place if there's no sunlight for the plant to convert into carbon dioxide to create oxygen. But exercising will help you retain more clinical information, more clinical knowledge, helps you pay attention at work, helps you interact with challenging patient cases, helps you deal with the stress of working in healthcare. So choose to spend your life fueling your body so that your body can fuel your life. Now, the next habit you need to incorporate in your life and your work if you want to be happier in healthcare is this: socialize. What? Let me explain. In our line of work, we are usually constrained to seeing patients from the moment we walk in to the moment we walk out. For me personally, I don't know if any of you have this, but for me personally, I am confined to 3 rooms when I work. It's either my office with my desk and my computer, or it's 2 patient exam rooms that I alternate between. I am literally between the same set of walls all day for 10 hours every day that I work. That is literally the environment I'm in. It's not like, working in healthcare is very different from the corporate world. There's no water cooler chit chat. Like, we are constantly seeing patients as medical providers or nurse practitioners. We see patients back to back to back to back to back from the moment we start to the moment we end, right? And you might talk to a few of your colleagues, the same colleagues every single day. But I am going to sell you on the benefits of getting out of your little bubble and socializing. And it might not be what you think. So I recently went to a dinner presentation for a new medication on the market that is brand new in the last few years, very good for a lot of rheumatic diseases or autoimmune arthritises. It was an amazing presentation by this very, very smart rheumatologist who came from out of state. And I was able to ask her questions that I couldn't research in the studies or the databases or the books or the brochures. I mean, I had this question about this medication that one of the side effects could be increased cholesterol. And I was able to ask this presenter, this rheumatologist, about her experience and tell her about my patient cases. And I got to learn from her firsthand knowledge. And there's something so powerful about being able to ask questions and learning from someone else's experience. It actually expedites your knowledge because you're collapsing time by learning from someone else's years of experience and getting the wisdom that they extrapolated from it. And you get to adopt that and incorporate it in your life. And I get it. Like, a lot of us don't have free time. I don't have a lot of free time either. I'm a nurse practitioner, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I'm not able to make these dinner presentations all the time, but at least for the season of life I'm in, I'm trying to make them at least once or twice a month to really keep that cadence, that consistency. And I do plan in the future to expand more as I have more time or I become more efficient with my time. But at least for now, that's the season of life I'm in. Another benefit of socializing outside your bubble with other healthcare providers is meeting new people and expanding your network. Keeping yourself confined to the walls of your patient exam rooms, of your office every day for your career, that doesn't provide you any opportunity for growth, for happiness. Humans are built. We are wired for connection, for growth, and for challenges from the day we are born. This is what fuels human beings. And to be honest, When I started out in nurse practitioner school, I was already networking, talking to my preceptors. I was attending presentations outside of my regular hours. And eventually, this actually got me on a billboard. Yeah, no kidding. When I was a nurse practitioner student, I was on a billboard. And I'm going to put a picture right here. If you're listening to the podcast, I highly encourage watching this YouTube video because I'm still pretty darn proud of myself for being able to be on a billboard. But just this is the power of networking and expanding your network. It expands your net worth. And put yourself in proximity to opportunity. That is how you create more opportunities in your life, like being on a billboard. You'll never know the people you meet, what the bridges you start fostering and building, you never know where it can lead. It can only lead to good things. You can never know not enough people. You can never have too many bridges. You never know where it will lead you and where it will benefit you. You know, we've already talked about you starting to read 10 pages every day and exercising and moving your body. You have created so much value in you. You've made yourself so valuable. But the truth is, your value inside of you is only so good as how much value you put out there in the world. You're not valuable if you keep everything inside of you. You have to impact people. You know, if you have an engineering degree, your expertise is only valuable if you go out into the world and make an impact. If you help build a rocket ship, you build a children's playground, you help build the electrical infrastructure to the city, and so you can light up the streets so cars can drive and see at night. Or for example, if you are a really good singer, like you have a beautiful voice, there's no value in it if you keep it hidden, if you keep it locked away. If you don't share your voice with the world, you don't impact and move people and bring value in their lives. Your value is only as good as you impact and put your value out in the world. And so I encourage you, socialize, network, get out there, get outside the confines of your walls of where you work and see patients, and network and socialize with other healthcare providers. You never know what opportunities those can lead to. Which, by the way, if you feel socially awkward and you just don't know what to say in these circumstances or social settings, then I invite you to join the next round of the Connect with Your Patient in 60 Seconds or Less Masterclass, where you learn exactly what to say and how to connect with your patient or really anyone within seconds and make your impact on other people and change their lives. And when you socialize and you actually witness the value and the impact you bring to other people, when your patient tells you, you know, out of all my doctors, you're my favorite one that I see, that's how you feel validated. That's how you feel valued. That's how you feel you have purpose in this world. You feel happy. And that's how you start finding happiness in healthcare. You know, James Clear wrote this amazing book called Atomic Habits, which, by the way, if you have never read it, I highly recommend this be the first book you read of your 10 pages every day. This book will change your life. And it's the most recommended book I can recommend to you if you really want to change your habits and start building the life you want. James Clear says, time will magnify whatever you feed it. Time is the only commodity each of us have. And every day we lose time. No amount of money can buy back your time. Yesterday is gone. Last year is gone. The time you spent to watch this video or listen to this podcast is gone. So use your time wisely and build the life you want. But you let me know, what do you think? Were these habits helpful to hear about and to learn about? Are there other habits that you recommend to incorporate in your life if you're a burned out nurse practitioner? If so, leave a comment below and I'd love to know. Other than that, I will see you all in the next episode.